Today we're going to be doing a comparison between the Flair 58 plus a few accessories, comparing it against the El Rocio Zarre from Prima Coffee. But before we do that, I just want to say welcome to Gabin's Coffee Corner. This channel is designed to help you choose the coffee gear you want to brew with at home. You'll see a lot of reviews and comparisons like this one on this channel. So if you're interested in that, I ask that you please like and subscribe. That helps me push this content out more. Also, if you're looking at purchasing any of these, please use the links below, and I'll make a slight commission at no extra charge to you. So if you're already looking at purchasing some of the gear, that really helps me really build this channel and have more gear that I can purchase to do these reviews. I also have an Instagram account called Gabin's Coffee Corner. You're welcome to follow me there. And lastly, I have a Patreon. So if you really like this content and you want to support me as a YouTuber more, you can do that on Patreon. All the links for all this is below. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We have the Flair 58 right here at $580, I believe. It comes with this bottomless portafilter in this light wooden accent, this little drip tray here, a tamper, and a puck screen. With this, you have to plug it in directly to a wall. It kind of looks like an Xbox power brick from the Xbox 360. It's wired in my coffee barn. I didn't want to take it out to move it over here. On this, I have this thing called a switch bot, where it lets me remotely turn this on and off via Bluetooth to go ahead and start preheating this chamber. With the Flair 58, you also have to buy some kind of a kettle to pour in here to brew a shot of espresso. So this one is the Stag EKG Plus model, which means it has Bluetooth, and I also outfitted it with wooden accents to match the Flair. So this runs somewhere between $150 to $200, but you can get cheaper kettle options that will work fine with this. It's also temperature controlled. Lastly, if you want to steam milk, there's obviously no steamer on the Flair 58, so you would need to buy something like the Bellman stovetop steamer, which you simply put on the stovetop, heat it up. It's a little finicky, but it does produce good enough microfoam to make latte art. So if you're making lattes occasionally here and there, this is what you're going to need to do with this. So this totals somewhere around $900, give or take, depending on how you do the kettle and all that stuff. This is the El Rocio Zarre from Prima Coffee. This comes in at $3,750. It comes with this remote control here, which allows you to adjust the pressure, change the temperature of the machine, turn on and off the steam boiler, and it allows you to do presets where you can simply just click this button and it will brew the coffee for you. It has a spouted portafilter with a wooden handle, a bottomless portafilter. It comes with this tamping mat, and it comes with this bigger tamper here. It also has a drip tray, and you can drain it out and pump in the machine. It's got a built-in water tank in the back here that you can fill up, and it warms up your cups here. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this machine at $3,750. You can also get this in the lighter wood color similar to the Flair if you don't like the dark wooden accents, which will change the side panels, the knobs, and the portafilter handles. All right, so I did a quick overview on all that stuff. Here, this is also a dual boiler, by the way, so you can steam and brew at the same time, and it has the hot water tap over here, steamer here, steam pressure, and then espresso pressure here. So one of the reasons why I find these two machines interesting and why I wanted to compare them is because they are both pressure profiling machine, but there's about a $3,000 difference between this full setup and this setup. It's well over $3,000 if you remove some of this other stuff here on the Flair. So I want to talk about why you choose one or the other, and I also want to talk about which ones produces the better shot. So that's coming in this video. So first off, you would probably want to buy the El Rocio Zarre if you're making a lot of milk-based drinks. The steamer on this is very finicky, and I don't like it. It takes a while to heat up. It does get you by. I've used it for years making milk drinks, but it's just kind of not the smoothest process. Also, the steam wand arm here does have some issues where it's currently hitting right here. There's been a lot of complaints about that. Prima Coffee knows about that, and they're hoping to work on that a little bit more. This was also sent to me for a review in comparison, but I'm allowed to do all my opinions on it. Just fair warning on that. So I have it for a month, allowed to compare it. So this one takes a little bit more work to do. You have to pull a lever, you have to fill it up, and all of that stuff. So what I did over the past week and a half was I pulled identical shots on this, meaning I used the same grind setting, the same dose, and I would brew shots of espresso at 6 bars of pressure on both of these things, controlled by the dial here and controlled by the lever on the Flair. And then I would do a couple days where I would pull 8 bars of pressure, drop down to 6, and then slowly decline from there on both of these machines. And I want to talk about my findings on these. The first one is I noticed that the Flair has more control. Meaning that when you're trying to jump between pressure profiling on this and choose the pressure, it is easy to find out where you are at based off of the resistance. It helps you control your ramps a little bit better than simply using a dial where there's no tactile feeling on there. I think it would be great, which would be hard to do, and I don't know how to do it, is basically make this feel more resistance as you're turning it, so you can kind of feel according to whether you're in 8 bars of pressure, 6, 4, 3, whatever you're at on there, which is one of the things that I love about this. I also want to note that with this you have to use a puck screen, which sits on top of your coffee grounds here. It helps with channeling, but this one does not have a dispersion screen, which is a little shower screen at the top of the brew head, and this one does. So I compared both shots from these machines, both with the Flair 58 shower screens. I have a few of them. So with this, the process of it is you have to heat up this kettle, turn this on, and then what I do in order to get the portafilter hot, because I find that it doesn't get to the temperature that I would like it to when it's just locked in here, I set it just directly on my kettle. It fits perfectly fine there, and that steams and heats up the entire portafilter where I feel like it's hotter and better to brew with. I also will fill my cup with hot water as well in order to get the hottest drink possible. With this one has a cup warmer, it's a little bit easier to do that, and it's not as many moving parts as the Flair 58. When it comes to comparing all of these shots that I did back and forth, I find it very, very interesting. There was one day in particular that I pulled 2 shots, and I have 2 of the exact same cups, one in black and one in white, and I used that to kind of help me identify which machine was which. And there's one day that I forgot what color of cup I put under each machine. And I found it interesting because when I was drinking those shots of espresso, I could not pinpoint which one came from the Flair and which one came from the El Rocio Zarre. Which, that to me is absolutely insane, because we're looking at a $900 setup or a $580 setup compared to a $3,750 setup. And I couldn't tell the difference between the shot. And I've been brewing espresso at home for a while. I have a great grinder, great setup, and all this stuff. And I'm not the best. I don't have the best palate. I'm not a trained barista or a competitor or anything like that. But just for the fact that a home brewer who does this often couldn't tell the difference is just absurd to me on how close these machines are when it comes to the quality of espresso that's coming out. One of the things I did notice in my testing is the El Rocio Zarre came out a little warmer of the cup, which is something that I prefer. But with the new Flair, this new Flair, the Flair 58, compared to like the Flair Pro 2 and all the other ones, I have noticed this has been drastically better on heat. So one of the things that you really need to do while brewing with this thing is you need to make sure you preheat this, and you need to make sure you preheat your cup so it's not too much of a difference. Now the temperature isn't like drastically higher, like this one feels cold and this one feels hot. This one feels hot, this one feels slightly hotter, which I find very interesting. If you were doing like a lot of events and things like that, I would maybe choose the El Rocio Zarre. If you're brewing a lot of milk drinks, I would use the El Rocio Zarre. There's something about like I look at this machine as something that you have to put a little more work to, versus the El Rocio Zarre is a little easier to do. Part of it is just out of pure laziness. I would always probably pick a machine over the Flair because you don't have to pull the lever. And I know that sounds insane, but it is an annoying process. And also, you don't have to purge other machines after the Flair. So you have to basically put another cup underneath of it and pour that out in order to get where you want it to be. So for me personally, if I were buying these machines with my own money, which I did purchase the Flair with my own money, I would probably pick the Flair. In all honesty, I would pick the Flair because I don't make milk drinks very often. Um, I noticed on a coffee bar one of the things that was inconvenient with the Flair is the fact that you have that like second shot per se that you have to get rid of in order to detach the portafilter. So I installed a pitcher rinser on my coffee bar for a couple $100 or so, and you can find the link. You can see that in a couple videos if you look on my channel on how I did that, and that basically allows me to pour that excess coffee down a drain on my coffee bar without walking across the kitchen, which makes using the Flair 58 quite a bit easier. It also takes up less space and it's pretty easy to use. You do have to be careful if you have cabinets though, because you have to pull this up quite a bit. I did find the steam wand on here, if assuming they would ever fix this little issue right here, which is very annoying. I find the steam wand arm to be absolutely incredible. It feels great. It steams so quickly. It's so easy to get microfoam. It's so consistent on this machine. I love the control. You get a little bit more control over the temperature on something like this than you do the Flair 58, which is phenomenal, which is great. I love that about this. The wooden accents and all this stuff feels so high quality. And to be honest, the Flairs feels really, really cheap to me. So that's something that like this feels more premium to grab a hold and use this portafilter. They did a great job of where they put these little kind of indents and the texture on this portafilter versus this seems like I don't know, it just seems very cheap. It almost seems fake wood in comparison to how great this one feels. I've had no issues with the Flair over the time, but these wooden accents are very disappointing to me. It even feels very poor in comparison to the handles on my kettle. Honestly, I kind of wish they would have just made it like a nicer plastic material based off of the quality of the feel of these wood handles. Now, it's not as noticeable until you use something as well made as the El Rocios are, which, I mean, you're spending $3,000 more for that. So you get, I mean, it makes sense. When it comes to comparing this to other machines, though, I actually probably prefer the El Rocio Zarre when it comes to full-fledged machine. The looks grow on me more. I love this little logo in the detail on top of the machine there. I love the fact that you can control the pressure on it, which you can't do on a lot of machines. It's just hard to beat the quality of the Flair. Just to be blunt, like they just came out of nowhere and just have, in my opinion, destroyed the competition with the quality that you get out of that machine. It's a learning curve, and it may take a little bit more work, but in the grand schemes of things, you're not going to notice the work unless you've had used one of these machines a lot in the past before. And the shot quality you get from this is absolutely amazing in comparison. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. If you're steaming a lot of milk, I would go with this because the Bellman is kind of a poor milk steamer. I think Flair's working on making a better one, but that hasn't came out yet, and I've heard that years ago. If you're looking at shot quality, you're not getting noticeably better with the El Rocios Zarre. Maybe small tweaks better, but on most days I won't notice the difference personally. It'd be interesting to see how some like a professional, if they would notice the difference. But as a home brewer and as somebody who's used a lot of machines, I'm not really telling the difference between these two machines when it comes to quality, which makes me think like, why would I spend $3,000 to get a steamer, or having it heat up water for itself when I can set this up to be more automatic by buying a $30 button pusher, and I can set that up to turn on as well too. But I do think they did a great job in comparison to a lot of machines. So I'm not saying that El Rocios Zarre is a bad machine. I'm saying it's a great machine, but I'm saying the Flair is a phenomenal machine. For the price point, it's crazy that they packed all of this into it. But it's like, I mean, look at the size of this thing in comparison to the El Rocios Zarre. The quality of this thing is insane in comparison to the Flair. Like, physically, but quality of shot, Flair wins. So if you have any questions on this machines, please let me know. Again, the links in the description for both of these machines are available. Again, this was sent to me on a loan to compare into review. This I paid full price for from Flair, but I've been a supporter of Flair for a while. They didn't pay me to say better things about this machine. I do get commission off both of these machines though, so if you're looking at buying one or the other, I would actually probably prefer you to buy this one because it helps me fund the channel a little bit more. But in all honesty, the Flair is a little bit better of a machine to me. So if you're looking at purchasing any of this stuff, please use the links below, and that really helps me out as a YouTuber. And let me know of any questions you have. And again, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.